Last Friday, Ruth Bader Ginsburg died. Ruth Bader Ginsburg was Jewish. The Jewish New Year began on Friday, as did the Sabbath, or the Shabbat. When a Jewish person dies on the Sabbath that coincides with the Jewish New Year, there is something of significance. As Nina Totenberg from NPR tweeted, a Jewish teaching says those who die just before the Jewish New Year are the ones God held back until the last moment, because they were needed the most and were the most righteous. Some in the Jewish community are calling Ruth Bader Ginsburg a righteous person. Perhaps the word righteous and Jewish culture is ringing a bell for you. That word holds significance. Yad Vashem, which is the Holocaust Museum in Israel, has a spot dedicated to non-Jews who risked their lives during the Holocaust. And as some of you may know, there is a Mennonite among them, Lois Gundin of Goshen, Indiana. Now, these people, Lois and others included, they are called the righteous among the nations for risking their lives to save Jewish lives. A person of great righteousness. What does the word righteousness mean from a biblical perspective? Because a lot of people are talking about that word. Well, for us Christians, Joseph, the human father of Jesus, can help us. Because Joseph, too, is described as a righteous person. In Matthew chapter 1, verse 19, the gospel writer says this: Mary's husband, Joseph, being a righteous man and unwilling to expose Mary to public disgrace, planned to dismiss her quietly. But it's also his righteousness that caused him to change his mind after he had a visit from an angel in a dream. Joseph, being righteous, risks disobedience, disobeying the letter of the law in order to respond to God's call to be the parent of Jesus. Biblical righteousness is not a slavish adherence to the letter of the law, but faithfulness shaped by mercy. Faithfulness shaped by mercy. This is what the prophets of the Hebrew Bible, a collection of books that both Christians and Jewish share, this is what the prophets are calling for when they ask, when they request, when they cry out for the people to return towards God. The prophet Amos says, "But you have turned justice into poison, and the fruit of righteousness into wormwood." The fact that the filled the prophets with dismay was not the absence of adequate laws, but the absence of justice. Judges were active in the land, but their judgments were devoid of righteousness. The prophets were shocked, not only by the acts of injustices that people were committing against the other, but also by the perversion of justice on the part of the notables. To quote Abraham Heschel in his book, The Prophets. Faithfulness shaped by mercy. That's what it means to be righteous. Now, should this word righteous be used to describe Ruth Bader Ginsburg? That's not for me to say as a Christian. I do think that living a life of faithfulness that's shaped by mercy does describe the kind of life that people who believe in God and follow Jesus ought to be living. I think we're called to be righteous, to live, to have faith that is shaped by mercy. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, she sat on the Supreme Court for 13 years. Before and during her time, she worked for equality. She fought for equality. For women, for those in the LGBT community, and for immigrants. And she made judgments to the best of her ability based on her understanding of justice. She was never neutral. She always had a position. Going back to Heschel in the book, The Prophets, he wrote about the neutrality of God, or the lack thereof. Heschel wrote, God is never neutral, never beyond good and evil. God is always partial to justice. Justice is found when righteousness is grounded in faithfulness shaped by mercy. Righteousness is not about being right, it's about being just. And so, as we go on these next few days, weeks, months, into what feels like an uncertain time, my challenge for all of us is this: to ground ourselves in faith, the kind of faithfulness that is shaped by mercy. And this is hard work because most of us just want to be right or to ignore those that we disagree with. But that's neither righteous nor just. It is hard work to be faithful, to have faithfulness that is shaped by mercy. But that is our challenge as people of God. To quote Ruth Bader Ginsburg one last time, real change, enduring change happens one step at a time. You've got this.